So did James Gunn do Henry Cavill dirty? Well, a lot of people seem to think so, and now the head of DC Studios has talked directly to the conspiracy theory and at least provided fans with some pretty clear answers. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about what he said about the ousted Henry Cavill, what he had to do with it, and why it seems this is indeed a tinfoil hat concept. Now, before we do that though, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently so you are in the know. Well, as many of you know, DC Studios formed, at the end of 2022, and they picked up James Gunn and Peter Safran to oversee the studios and a brand new slate of projects. Now, 2023 did bring us several DC movies, but basically it was a disaster of a year at the box office for the studio, and really felt like proof to many people that this particular version of the DC Universe needed to be rebooted. Now, let's be fair, a lot of fans were pretty unhappy about that, particularly when it came to Man of Steel star Henry Cavill. He had just returned in a cameo in Black Adam, and it seemed like to many fans that he was on the road back into the DC Universe, and some fans were pretty excited about the possibilities of him facing off with Black Adam. Now, after a series of announcements and what seemed to be confirmations, it came out that Cavill was not going to continue as Superman, and James Gunn was going to recast the character for his upcoming reboot. Now, since then, we've gotten a lot more details, and even found out that Gunn was working on the story as far back as 2021. Now, this has led to some conspiracy theories, seeming to claim that Gunn had always planned on ousting Henry Cavill after he took over the DC Universe. Now, recently, Gunn responded to a fan over on Threads, and as many of you know, he has been super active, addressing questions pretty directly. This is something we don't get from a lot of studio heads, and it really does help clarify what's going on. Now, in a recent thread, a fan reached out to him to discuss the, quote, conspiracy theory about what happened with Henry Cavill and whether he had always intended on, and I quote, screwing him over. Gunn replied by saying, "I don't quite understand how that fits. Aside from the fact that I had no interest in running DC until Peter decided to do it with me so he could do the exec stuff and I could focus on creative, when I was hired to write Superman, it was always intended as and pitched as a new Superman story. So why would I lie about not planning that at the Suicide Squad premiere, which would have amounted to the same thing at the end of the day? How does that particular conspiracy theory make sense?" Now, in that same thread, he seemed to fend off some other accusations and even corrected one of our reports. Recently, we reported Nathan Fillion was told he was going to play Guy Gardner at the Suicide Squad premiere, but that actually happened, and Gunn is confirmed, at the Guardians of the Galaxy premiere. So it seems like Fillion might have misspoken, and this really helped feed a narrative that Gunn has been planning all of this for a long time. Now, the whole thing seems pretty odd, and there doesn't appear to be any truth to Gunn having some secret master plan to make the franchise his own. Now, one of the problems is he's bringing back some actors who worked in the DCEU and not moving forward with others like Cavill or Ben Affleck, maybe even Gal Gadot, which definitely makes a lot of one part of the fan base really upset and kind of keeps the narrative in the public eye because people continue to talk about it. Now, we know the new Superman movie is currently in production, and David Cornsweet will take up the role of the Man of Steel. It's set to release on July the 11th of 2025. We have just over a year. I don't think this story is going to go away in that time frame. There are a lot of people who are still very dedicated to the previous version of the character, and I think until the new movie comes out, and assuming it's a big success with fans, this discussion will probably continue until, honestly, fans have something better to talk about. Hopefully we get that in the new Superman movie.